It's time to talk about the very worst comic book of the week, and quite frankly, I'm surprised Avengers 66 is part 8 of the Avengers Assemble event. I thought this event had ended like 6 weeks ago, but somehow it's actually still ongoing, and it feels like it's the never-ending story, Doc.
Yeah, except for the never-ending story was good. This is just endless torture. Jason Aaron is going as Jason Aaron could possibly go. Just send him to The Hague and bring him up on war crimes, because that's what it feels like he's doing here.
Certainly a crime against good taste, and it feels like the artist Javier Garrón is kind of checked out as well. This was definitely not his best effort.
It felt like he was really trying to ape Ed McGuinness in this and did so very, very poorly. This felt very rushed, very unfinished, like he really did not bring his A game. Either that, or he either didn't have the time or he just didn't give a shit. Because if I was drawing this book at this point, I wouldn't give a shit either, because it just won't end.
It's the same stuff over and over. It's just so stupid. Let's get into some of the details. And you'll notice there's a theme to what we're going to be talking about here today. When we open it up, we find Mephisto, and it turns out we don't just have the Legion of Dooms, the Doctor Doom and his Doom army. We don't just have the multiversal Masters of Evil. Now we have like the Red Council or something, which is an entire army of Mephisto variants. You can actually beat an idea into the ground until it's nothing but a pile of goo anymore. And then they go out and they steal an idea. Well, this isn't just from the movie The One with Jet Li and Jason Statham, which I like that movie or whatever, but because Mephisto goes out and murders his entire army of Mephistos, now he's Super Mephisto. And he becomes like a giant blood clot. It was really stupid.
There was some novelty to this when Exiles did it way, way, way back in the day with like every different possible timeline variation of Wolverine in one story, and the idea was it was a joke about how overused Wolverine is. Fantastic Four really leaned into it with the Council of Reeds. They've beaten this idea of having multiversal variants of every character into the ground so badly. I just wanted to set this thing on fire, and I read it on a computer.
And like you mentioned, there's so many variants. It's not just variants of all the villains, which is enough, but it's actually variants of all the heroes. There's a Captain America Corps with, I don't know, 1 billion different versions of Captain America, and a Carol Corps that has her own Carol Carrier. They're just stripping everything cool and unique about these heroes away, and I don't even know what the point of any of this is. It never built up to any of this. It's not exciting. It doesn't feel like Blackest Night when you had the really big reveal, and all of a sudden everyone's a different Lantern Corps member and all their colors and all that stuff. It was really exciting. This is just so tedious and boring and stupid, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, like in the worst way possible.
Look, they had the Thors there, and then they had to have all the girl Thors. There's a whole core of girl Thors too, after the boy Thors all got beat. I just wanted this to stop. To stop, because at this point, where's the Council of Ant-Men? Where's the Council of everything? Just have an infinite number of every single character and every variant and just have it go forever. This is all Jason Aaron's backdoor way to keep a job by having an infinite number of an infinite variance so that he can never get fired, because there'll still be some left for him to kill. This fucking story will never end.
Yes, there are apparently thousands of Captain Americas, thousands of Carol Danvers, but there's just so many characters that aren't even variants. We've got Gorilla Man in here. We've got Ursa Major in here. We've got Khazar in here, apparently, that's with Galactus now. And Deathlock has taken over a fucking Celestial. It is like every single character. Ant-Man is in here. It's like there's so many characters doing stuff at the exact same time. You don't even know what's happening.
Not only do you not know what's happening, none of it has any impact to the point where the Celestial Deathlock showing up and slaughtering everyone with a Deathlock gun ended up just like a third of a bottom of a page and then wasn't even addressed again. All this is about introducing an unwieldy amount of things just to slaughter them. This is Jason Aaron in a nutshell. He has no impact because he just beats the same horse. It's not even glue anymore.
He just sees that something big happened. Whoa, there was a giant Thor that died in Civil War. That feel like it was important. Let's make it that, but times a billion, And I don't think he understands you actually have to have a story that's compelling with heroes that you want to root for, with a well-defined villain that they have to overcome that feels like they can't be beaten.
Like, they talk about power creep. This is plot creep to the point where he started at 10 and then just kept trying to go up. Bitch, there isn't an actual 11. The whole point of Spinal Tap was that joke.
I don't even know who he's trying to outdo anymore. So you have all these different variants of all the heroes, at least the Avengers. But then there's also Avenger Prime, which is a redeemed Loki, and he appears to have the same powers of all the Avengers as well. It's like, come on, man.
And the fact is, they built him up in like the first half of this arc just to have him do almost nothing. He doesn't have a purpose in this entire comic book, except for to get killed by Supreme Doom, maybe, and just stand there and shoot laser blasts at each other as if this is some big drama. He's not even a character that anyone gives a shit about in this entire story. He is not central. The big mystery that you started this story off isn't central to the story. Good fucking job, you unequivocal hack.
Well, yeah, you get this moment where he's fighting Doom Supreme. You would think, with the power levels and everything, it should feel important, but it's surrounded. And I'm not talking like there's a few pages of action before and after this. I mean, the entire comic book is just a bunch of action figures, different variants, like just fighting each other on a battlefield.
Not only did Jason Aaron decide to make an entire comic where all he does is smash action figures against each other, he decided to buy every action figure ever minted of every one of these characters, slap their pieces together, like Frankenstein their pieces together, and then throw them into a rock tumbler. When you take things beyond the scope and try to make it so much bigger and badder and everything than everything that's come before it, when everything's important, nothing's important.
After a few pages, once you realize that every single page is the exact same thing with just variants fighting variants, and it doesn't matter who wins or loses, I just stopped even looking at the art itself to see what was happening. I was skimming through the lines of dialogue and the internal monologue or whatever, and like, I don't understand what's supposed to capture about this. I don't even know what happens in this comic book. I just know a lot of people fight for like 20 pages straight.
Yeah, and none of the fight seems to really matter because it's a bunch of characters that were introduced for this story in order to die for this story to make it seem like it's going to matter. It's the end of Endgame where they bring all of like the monks from fucking Shaolin or wherever the shit Doctor Strange is from. But then the, Thanos brings his entire army of faceless, nameless things that don't matter because all it is just a bunch of action figures smashing into each other. And 99.9% of them are there to be cannon fodder completely. This is the
but when you
fodder.
get to that point, Doc, you invested so much. You've seen the characters go through so much. It's kind of impactful. It's kind of enjoyable when you finally see this last big action scene. Your favorite characters being spotlighted, because they're not just spotlighting everybody. They're spotlighting the heroes that had the big stories, and there are moments to be enjoyed there. This never got built up to. No one was anticipating this. And when there are spotlighted moments, they spotlight every single character, so you don't even know what you're supposed to enjoy.
Tony Stark, Iron Man, is in like 2 panels of this comic. Real Thor, I don't think appears in this comic. Oh, wait, no, he's thrown into a wall, and you see him kind of just laying there. Captain America, he has 2 panels, one of which is him like way in the background. All of these characters that are actual central to this story don't even fucking appear in this comic book because they needed to just throw in more variants to get slaughtered.
I'm shocked it's still going on and it's not over. There's actually more to this. Is it 10 parts? Is this thing going to go on for another 2 months?
Probably. Well, it said to be continued in Avengers Forever number 15, or whatever the other Avengers book is that nobody's reading, that nobody cares about. Look, this whole thing is just pointless drivel in order to go right back to a status quo that is really, really boring. Doom Supreme will lose. All the multiversal masters of evil that got introduced only to exist for this story will be gone. All the variants will be gone. and nothing will have changed because they're not even beating up villains from our world.
I don't know why Marvel Comics seems to think that Jason Aaron's a big deal. Putting him on Avengers was a risk, although at the beginning it was kind of okay, but it has just been so terrible over the last 2 or 3 years. And Avengers Assemble is the worst thing about all of it. It is so bad, it has sucked every step of the way. And this one, Doc and I talk about how he incorporated Ego, the Living Planet, into this stupid fucking story. If you haven't seen this, there's also a link in the video description.